Good evening, I'm Rotua Ester Manik, and I want to present my paper, and the topic is Togaf. As a forward, first of all, I want to extend special thanks to the God for the blessing and grace for me, so I can finish this paper on time. Thanks to Sir Amat La Bohe as the architecture lecturer, who always help his students and give a lot of useful knowledge. It is one of the assignments in architecture subject. It is composed of the explanation of Togaf. This is not a perfect model, so I expect the critic and suggestion in order to make it better.
Chapter 1 Introduction 1.1 Background of the problem. Application of information systems or information technology in organization has become very important issue because IS or ID can help organization achieve success, even help the organization achieve excellence compared amid increasingly fierce business competition. Said by Lukman 20 and more. Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Indonesia have now looked at IS or ID as one strategy in improving the quality of education and service to all organizational stakeholders to become a superior tertiary institution and have competitiveness in the midst of growing number of higher education institutions very fast. With an IS or ID strategic plan aligned with the strategy organizational business, then the higher education can have a guide that clear in implementing IS or ID. Enterprise architecture help organizations to define business architecture, information system architecture, and technology architecture, which able to align business strategy and IS or ID strategy. Kurniawan and Suhardi 20 and 13. One of the EF framework is Togaf, the Open Groups Architecture Framework. Togaf have a methodology that delivers a guide in establishing and executing EA management, namely Togaf Architecture Development Method, ADM. Togaf ADM is a method details on how to build and manage as well implementing EA, Unis et al. 20 and 10. Togaf has a value that higher based on the three aspects, namely concept, modeling, and criteria process, compared to the other EA frameworks, namely EAEP, DODAF, Gartner, and FEA. The Togaf framework provides detailed architecture, namely business architecture, data architecture, application architecture, and technology architecture. Framework Togaf views information architecture the same as data architecture or exists in the information systems architecture section. According to Alonso, information architecture needs to be added to the general EA architecture for not owned by the EA framework in order to be able to analyze the components information used by the organization's business process and can identify the use of information and the movement of information within organization. Chapter 2 Content Meaning of TOGAF. The Open Group Architecture Framework is an enterprise architecture methodology that offers a high-level framework for enterprise software development. TOGAF helps organizations the development process through a systematic approach aimed at reducing errors, maintaining timelines, staying on budget, and aligning IT with business units to produce quality results. TOGAF is an enterprise architecture framework that helps define business goals and align them with architecture objectives around enterprise software development. TOGAF is a high-level approach to design. It is typically modeled at four levels: business application and data and technology. It relies heavily on modularization, standardization, and already existing proven technologies and products. The TOGAF framework is broken into two main groups, which include the TOGAF's fundamental content and extend guidance. The fundamental content includes all the essentials and best practice of TOGAFs that create the foundation for the framework. The extend guidance portion of TOGAF includes guidance for specific topics such as agile methods, business architecture, data information architecture, and security architecture. The extend guidance portion of TOGAF is expected to evolve over time as more best practices are established, whereas the fundamental content offers a basic starting point for anyone looking to apply the framework. This is the illustration of Togaf. Strategy and motivation in preliminary: A for architecture vision, B for business architecture, C information system architectures, D for technology architecture, E for opportunities and solutions, F migration planning, G implementation governance, H architecture change management. Strategy and motivation, implementation and migration include into business layer, application layer, and technology layer. 2.2 Toga function. The Togaf standard, a standard of the Open Group, is a proven enterprise architecture methodology and framework used by the world's leading organizations to improve business efficiency. Togaf, an acronym for the Open Group Architecture Framework, is intended to be standard way to design and implement architectures for very large computer systems. Today, 80% of global 50 companies use Togaf. Togaf is used to help organizations design an IT infrastructure that is adapted to meet their requirements. This is where trained Togaf professionals come in. They communicate with various department heads and help design and implement an IT strategy quickly and effectively. What makes Togaf unique in terms of an architectural framework is that it puts satisfying business needs as the central concern of all design activities. While this might seem like the obvious things to do, you need to remember that in very big companies, when it comes to system design and implementation, a lot of things can get lost in translation. It's the nature of the beast. TOGAF is used to assist enterprises in designing an IT infrastructure that is tailored to their needs. This is where certificate TOGAF specialists come in. They connect with various department heads and assist in rapidly formulating and implementing an IT strategy. The way that TOGAF achieves its intended goal is to divide enterprise architecture into four architectural domains: business, application, data, and technical. 1. Business. Business architecture domain describes how the enterprise is organizationally structured and what functional capabilities are necessary to deliver the business vision, formulates key business process, governance guidelines, organization structure, and business strategy into well-defined, well-understood, undivided whole. Discuss how the current business process work and how they should work to meet intended business goals according to the architectural vision document. The purpose of architectural vision document is to develop a high-level aspirational vision of the capabilities and business value to be delivered as a result of the proposal enterprise architecture. 2. Application. Application architecture domain describes the individual application, their instruction, and their relationship to the core business process of the organization. Provides a blueprint of the applications that need to be developed to support the business goals defined within the architectural vision document. The inset blueprint describes the logical service definition of the application to be created or refactored, as well as description of the interface that represent the given service. 3. Data. Data architecture domain describes the structure of an organization logical and physical data, asset, and data management resource. Knowledge about your customers from data analysis lets you improve and continuously evolve business process. The architectural domain under which logical and physical data models are developed. Activities include developing new data models and refactoring existing ones. Identifies data management tools and technologies. 4. Technical. Technology architecture domain describes the software and hardware needed to implement the business, data, and application service. Each of these domains have well-known artifacts, diagrams, and practice. Devise the hardware resource required to realize the intent architecture. These include computing, network, and storage research. For many years, it has been common to regard the architecture domains as layers, with the idea that each layer contains components that execute, process, and offer service to the layer above. Many EA frameworks combine data and application domains into a single information system layer, sitting below the business and above the technology, the platform ID infrastructure. 2.3 The Togaf Architecture Development Model ADM. Architecture vision, or commonly referred to as architectural vision, is an initial stage of the entire iteration of Togaf ADM stage. This stage begins with defining the scope of the organization, organizational boundaries, and expectation of the entire iteration of the stage carry out. Not only does the TOGAF define what's to be created in an enterprise architecture, which is the purpose of the four architectural domains, but the framework also specifies for how the architecture is to be created. This specification is called the Architecture Development Method, ADM. The ADM is an 8-phase sequential process, which is illustrated below in figure 1. This is the figure. Preliminary with A. Architecture vision, B. Business architecture, C. Information systems architectures, D. Technology architecture, E. Opportunities and solutions, F. Migration planning, G. Implementation governance, H. Architecture change management. It's all included in recruitment management. 2.4 What is TOGAF good for? In short, Togaf is good for implementing very big systems in very big companies. It literally attempts to leave no stone unturned when it comes to creating architectures intended to run an enterprise scale. Togaf machines will be used by companies with many departments and that are hierarchical in terms of structure and decision making. Thus, the framework maps directly onto these types of organizational structures. For example, a whole chapter is devoted to describing how to establish and operate an architectural board. An architectural board is a central planning committee that oversees the design and implementation of enterprise architecture. There's chapters about risk management, architectural partitioning, and architectural contracts. Remember, as mentioned earlier, TOGAF has 52 chapters. It exists, however, while TOGAF is highly structured and can accommodate other methodologies, such as Agile and DevOps. TOGAF, as understand, is best for companies that are highly structured organizations, but they also understand that no two companies are alike. TOGAF supports versatility. TOGAF accepts the iterative model, which is a critical component of Agile. In fact, there is a chapter in TOGAF titled Applying Iteration to the EDM that discuss the nature and implementation of iteration in the application development model. Also, DevOps can be accommodated by TOGAF. TOGAF doesn't require the use of specific technologies and practice. It tries to stay a very high level of abstraction. There is no direction to use waterfall release pattern or something along the lines of an iterative release controlled by DevOps approach. Instead, TOGAF essentially says you can use any approach that makes sense in terms of the architectural vision, as long as the approach is well defined and well known. TOGAF also requires that there is inherent in a technical decisions are identified and mitigation plans are put in place. Chapter 3 Closing 3.1 Conclusion TOGAF is an enterprise architecture framework that helps define business goals and align them with architecture objectives around enterprise software development. TOGAF is a high-level approach to design. It's typically modeled at four levels: business, application, data, and technology. It relies heavily on modularization, standardization, and already existing proven technologies and products. TOGAF is used as this enterprise in designing an IT infrastructure that is tailored to their needs. This is where certificate TOGAF specialists come in. They connect with various department heads and assist in rapidly formulating and implementing an IT strategy. The way that TOGAF achieved its intended goals is to divide enterprise architecture into four architectural domains: business, application, data, and technical. Architectural vision, or commonly referred to as architectural vision, is an essential stage of entire integration of TOGAF. the end stage. This stage begins with defining the scope of organization, organizational boundaries, and expectation of the entire iteration of the stage carry out. 3.2 Criticism and Suggestion. The writer of course still realizes that the above paper still contains many errors and is far from perfection. The author also expects criticism and suggestion in writing papers in the future. The author will approve the paper based on many sources and constructive criticism from readers. That's all what I can present. I hope this paper can be useful for who read this paper of Togaf. For the last word, thank you so much for the reader's attention.